Welcome, everyone. I'm Chris Stodinger with Pretty Gritty Tours, and these are my associates, which I'm going to let introduce themselves.
What's up, everybody? I'm Paul Richter, also with Pretty Gritty Tours.
And I am Kwabi from the Peace Bus. Yeah.
Kwabi, it's a pleasure and an honor to have you here tonight, so thank you for joining us.
No problem, Chris, Paul. I really appreciate you guys letting me be on the show. This is really, really cool. I'm excited about the virtual tour.
The pleasure is entirely ours.
We honestly, since I discovered what the Peace Bus was, have been like, we got to find a way to do something. And then, you know, the world changed and we all had to stay at home. And as a tour company, we were like, what are we going to do? All right, we're going to transition to maybe sort of more digital or virtual experiences. And I was like, we should talk to Kwabi and see if nothing else, he's willing to hang out with us on one of these sometime. So I'm really glad it worked out.
It was like literally the first thing he said.
Yeah, I'm always willing. I mean, this the fact that you guys reached out to me. This is awesome. Virtual tour. This is a really good idea. I'm glad to be a part of it. It's really cool.
Sweet. Well, thanks for being here. For anybody that's watching, because you're a Pretty Gritty fan or you watch a lot of our tours, you may not be super, oh yeah, awesome. So that's one of my favorite things we can do is to bring up the thing. And actually, Kwabi, I meant to mention a couple of days ago, my wife and I were out, like we were like, we're going for a drive, and we saw the Peace Bus downtown. And for a second, I wanted to like follow behind and like honk and be like, Peace Bus! But you were like several blocks away and a couple of red lights away, and I was like, well, I can't get to it.
Oh, that would have been so cool, man. Next time I see you. Okay.
Well, for everybody watching, tonight's tour is Cool Stuff in Tacoma. And I remember trying to explain to Chris, who is very good at putting together informational, educational, like historical tours that really get to the root of stories that maybe aren't typically told. And I was like, what if we just like think of stuff we think is cool and then we just talk about it?
I was like, all right, I'm into this. Good, carry on.
Yeah, and that's what tonight is all about. So we're each just kind of gonna get a chance to talk about some stuff that's here, local in our city, that we think is awesome, which was kind of perfect because the Peace Bus is something that's local here in our city that we all think is awesome.
So I would love it if you would describe what the Peace Bus is to those who are not yet acquainted with what you do.
Okay, Chris, Paul, thank you. I can't thank you guys enough for allowing me to be here. Yes, the Peace Bus is an organization that is concerned with educating ourselves and the community about what peace really means. So, of course, everyone likes to throw up the peace sign. I throw it up all the time. But what's behind that, right? What does it really mean to be peaceful? And so that's what we're concerned with. And it's been really interesting. So it's been a year and a half since its beginning, since I started it. And since the genesis of the organization, it's been exponential growth. And it's been amazing. And I think it's mainly due to the fact that people are ready for peace. There's so many problems that we have. I mean, obviously, especially with coronavirus, that's something that's been daunting us for a couple of months now. But even beyond that, we have poverty, we have hunger, we have homelessness. What are viable solutions to these issues? And that's what the Peace Bus is concerned with. It's concerned with trying to figure out how we can coexist and get along. I often say this, I have this quote, you guys can quote me on this. Just as space is the last endeavor for exploration, peace is the final frontier for society. Once again. So just as space is the final endeavor for exploration, peace is the final frontier for society. What I mean by that is it's just the final thing that we want. And so how do we get there? And that's what we're concerned with. So in any way, shape, or form, we're looking for it. We're trying to find it.
I love it.
That's so cool. Kwabi, we just got a question from somebody. Are you local? You're a Tacoma local?
Yeah. I grew up here. Yeah. I went to Curtis High School and University Place. Now I live in the North End. And yeah, I'm definitely local, straight up from here. But a lot of people don't know that before the Peace Bus started, It's not like, it was like a gold rush situation where I came up with the Peace Bus just on a whim. This was an educational piece that came through lots of time of research. So I traveled the world asking people the question, everyday people like ourselves, what peace meant to them, to create an educational backing for the work that I'm doing now. So I kind of see myself as, I guess, an educator, but I had to do my work before I went about talking to others about what peace really meant.
That's phenomenal.
That's so cool. Stadium High School is obviously a very gorgeous school, but I always say that Curtis, I think, is a really underrated school. I think it's such underrated. A cool looking school. I've always thought, like, if I was going to make a high school movie, like a high school romantic comedy or something, I would actually want to shoot it at Curtis, because you have all the levels and the balconies, and it's just such a cool looking school. That's a cool school.
It is amazing. It is a cool school. I enjoyed every minute of going to school there. I had some really awesome friends. A lot of the people and the teachers that educated me at Curtis were the ones who molded my mind in the direction of promoting peace. So I can't thank them enough, really.
It's a huge shout out for Curtis.
Yeah.
They're a cool school, man. They do cool stuff. The Vikings. I've always wondered, because sometimes you'll see things that say just like the VIKs, because they're shortening Vikings. Is it the Vix or is it the Vikes? Okay.
Vikes.
I'm never going to. Is it Vikes?
Yeah.
Okay. The Vikes. Go Vikes. Well, I'm glad I didn't say the Vix. Not that I go to Viking games or anything, but still.
It's embarrassing when you're chanting.
So that's awesome. That tells us a little bit about how you kind of got into wanting to talk about peace and explore that and educate communities. That's my wife. She actually used to work at Curtis High School for a number of years and I feel bad I don't know her job title, but for the theater department, she did good stuff for it.
Gotcha. Yeah, man, Curtis was great. And even moving on from there, just going to Western Washington University from there, I went to the Evergreen State College Tacoma campus. Nice. And then I got my master's in business at City University of Seattle, which there's a campus in Tacoma where I got that in. And I was actually challenged by one of my professors to get involved in peace relations. And that's sort of how the whole thing started. I was asked to get by myself and think of who I wanted to be, not like what I wanted to be. Obviously, anyone can be anything. And I thought, well, okay, do I want to be a doctor, a lawyer, all these different things. But besides that, what kind of person do I want to be? And so I thought, well, in the least, I would want to see peace in the world and peace with myself. And then I started looking up peace activists, not the ones from the past. Honestly, it's amazing work that Martin Luther King did, that Gandhi did, people like this. But that's a ways away. Who's doing this right now? That was my question. And I came across this guy named Brian Haw. If you don't know Brian Haw, you need to check this dude out. It's Brian H-A-W. And he was a peace campaigner from London, England. And he camped outside of Parliament Square for 11 years. So Parliament Square, where they do all their litigation and things like that, he camped outside of the square. And he just promoted love, compassion, peace, the idea that no matter where we come from, no matter what our skin color is or ethnicity, anything, that we are equal because we're human beings. And I fell in love with the guy's message. And I was like, okay, well, this guy is doing this for 11 years. The least I can do is go to Wrights Park every Saturday and bring some posters and talk to people about peace and what it means to them. And that's how it started. And then after doing my travels of doing this, I have these posters. I have them with me right now. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this one says, look, you can see it? Okay. Love, peace, and justice for all. So this was a poster that I took all over the world. And I would go to major cities and I would walk around. And obviously, it's big and bold. So people would want to walk up to me and be like, what are you doing? What are you selling? I was like, I'm not selling anything. I want to have a conversation with you about what peace means to you. And this was the education that brought me to coming back home and trying to share what I've learned. And that's when I came across this guy named A.B. Nathan, who's another person I researched. He's another guy you guys should check out. A.B. Nathan, he was an Israeli humanitarian, and he flew an airplane. He was a pilot. He flew an airplane he called the Peace One from Tel Aviv, Israel, all the way to Cairo, Egypt, to promote better relations between Arabs and Jews. This guy's amazing. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be a peace pilot. And so I started taking flight lessons over here at Gig Harbor. Then I went to the airport in Renton, and then I went to the airport in Puyallup, and I was taking these flight lessons. I wanted to be the first person to circumnavigate the globe in promotion of world peace. Granted, that's not happening now as far as the flight lessons. It's very expensive to take flight lessons.
Fair.
And so I was like, okay, well, I'll put that on the back burner. It's still going to happen, guys. Still going to happen. So I thought to myself, why not I get a vehicle? I already have a driver's license. And that's how the Peace Bus was born. About a year and a half ago, I bought a Mitsubishi van, a 1988 van from a guy on Vashon Island named Jason. Jason is amazing, really cool dude. He gave me a deal on it. I used my income tax, bought the vehicle for $3,500, took it to Rap Jacks in Puyallup, and they put the Peace Bus on the side of it. And I took it to Mako, got it painted, and that's when it started. And really, the idea at first was just to use it to drive it around town, drive it around Tacoma, and have people look at it, and they'll say, oh, peace. Maybe I'll research about what peace and what it means and sort of use that as a promotion piece. You know, the reason why we know about Coca-Cola, because it's everywhere. You can't go anywhere without seeing Coca-Cola. Why can't we do the same thing about peace? And so that's how that started. And then in the Peace Bus, there's a huge gaping hole there where there's supposed to be seats, but there's just wooden panels. And so I thought, well, what if I could use the Peace Bus to transfer goods? And that's how the local humanitarian aid got started, doing sock drives and giving out goods in the community. And now we're giving out cereal.
I was going to say, could you talk a little bit about the project you're working on right now?
Yes, yeah, I'd love to, Chris. Yeah, so basically, in March, this recent March, I was supposed to have a premiere of the Peace Bus TV show on the 22nd. A week before that,
COVID.
COVID.
A clip of that hopefully coming up pretty soon.
I'm bringing
yeah, that's going to be cool.
Right.
That's going to be cool. And I'll touch more about the show in a minute. Yes, so a week prior to the 22nd, that's when COVID was really hitting and things were closing down. Schools were closing down. Businesses were closing down. And so I couldn't obviously have the premiere. The biggest thing that we wanted to let the public know, we want kids to be safe. So we can't have a premiere with having kids be, close together, things like that. It's just not going to happen. And so that same weekend, that Saturday, I was thinking, what can I do to serve my community in this time of COVID? And I thought about the gaping hole in the Peace Bus. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I could transfer some goods. And I thought, okay, well, I was looking at the News Tribune website. They had an article saying that families that rely on the school system for sustenance for their kids, breakfast and lunch, some of them aren't able to get to the designated areas where these schools are providing food. And I was like, well, how are they supposed to get food? And so I thought, well, okay, I'll transfer food. So at first I wanted to do Lunchables, something, hefty and with meat and the vegetables, something like that. But I realized I'm not a restaurant. And I didn't want to be liable for something going bad or something like that. I just, it's something that I didn't want to deal with. And so I thought, well, I can do non-perishable items. I can transfer non-perishable items, things like cereal and oatmeal. And that's how the breakfast fund started. I went to my brother's house the next day. I had some cereal with me, and I was like, Quasey's his name, is my brother's name. And I was like, Kwasey, can you take pictures of me holding the cereal like the picture right there? Yeah. And he was like, sure. Why do you want pictures? I'm like, dude, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just take pictures of me. And so he took the pictures, he edited them, sent them to me. And then Sunday, I announced that I would be traveling in Tacoma and transferring breakfast to families in need in the morning hours, and that I would be trying to reach as many families as I could, as long as COVID was preventing businesses from being open and schools from being open. And so since then, I've delivered to over 200 families in the Tacoma area, and it's been a wonderful experience, and it's been a pleasure and an honor to serve my community.
That's so awesome.
That's love it.
Cool. I was actually thinking when we started, I wish that we had like a sound effect of like applause, because we could have been like, this person yes tonight, Kwabi, and then just like have everybody. But I was like, well,
we will be your sound effect. Like we're your hype team now.
7:30. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Chris and Paul, hype team.
The clip of the kids show that you've been working on.
Yeah, but real quick before we do, I kind of just spoiled it for everybody because I clicked to the side in the slideshow. But could you talk just a little bit about the Dear Kwabi program, or the Dear Kwabi like sort of thing that's going on?
Yes. So in the midst of doing the breakfast fund, I was seeing a lot of posts on Facebook and social media about kids being bored. And there was even a Seattle Times article talking about many kids, since they're not in school, they're at home, and they're sort of dilly-dallying. They're not really doing too much, maybe watching a lot of TV, playing video games. And I thought, well, what if we can use this time to create peace and to have a conversation about peace and what it means? And I thought, well, I can't necessarily, go to like the schools are closed. And so letters was the idea that came to mind, to think that I could invite kids to send me letters about what they're doing in their homes and in their community about creating peace. And many kids, this would be the first letter that they ever send. And to have this be a monumental part of their literature and their writing, to be the first letter to be about peace. Isn't that something amazing? And so I announced that I would be inviting kids kindergarten through 12th grade to send me letters about what they're doing to create peace. And it's been a hit. It's been really awesome. I've had letters not only from Washington State, so it was initially just for Washington State, but I've had letters all over the country of kids sending me ideas and efforts about what they're doing to make their lives easier and people around them, their lives easier. And it's been amazing to read them. And every letter that I do get, I have promised to do a video showcasing their work to the world. I think it's important that we learn from these kids, right? About what they're doing. It's really awesome.
That's so cool. That's so awesome. And I don't think I've seen all of them, but I've been trying to follow on Facebook when you post the videos, and they're so cool. I know if I was a kid, I would have been all about it. Like, it would have meant the world to me to see you reading my letter and to then get a letter response from you. That would have like blown up my world. I would have been so pumped. It'd just be like, Kwabi,
I'm pumped, Paul. I'm pumped too. But the thing is, I didn't even. I want to even to let you guys know this. Like, I didn't even really start it. The first letter that I got was even before the Kwabi letters even started. It was a kid, I believe a 6-year-old kid. His name was Luke. From 8-year-old kid from Seattle. And his mom had ran a podcast that I was on. I was a guest on, and they had my address. And so he sent me this letter about what he was doing at home to create peace. And I was like, Luke, buddy, this is an awesome thing you're doing. Let's see who else is doing this. I know you're not the only kid. And so that's what started the Dear Kwabi letters. And I thank Luke. I thank Luke for his awesome idea.
That's awesome.
That's so awesome. That's so cool. Well, I kind of side railed us and put that in there, but
awesome.
Could you tell us at all about the Peace Bus Kids show?
Yes, I'd love to. So in October of 2019, one of the local news stations reached out to me. And in the fall, there was a lot of traction. I was on the TV on different news stations quite a bit, talking about our trip to the border. So last August, I took the Peace Bus to the border of Mexico to interview Border Patrol agents about the immigration crisis taking on at that time. But when I got back, there was a lot of traction. And one of the newscast stations reached out to me and they said, well, have you thought about the Peace Bus being geared towards kids? And I was like, actually, in fact, I am. I'm going to elementary schools, talking to kids about nonviolence. I'm like, no, like a show. And I was like, not really, but now that you pointed out, maybe I will. And they're like, okay, well, if you get something going, write something up. If it's good, maybe we'll think about helping you to pitch it or back you. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to let this slide. Of course, I'm going to get on it. So that night, I wrote the Peace Bus script. I've never written a movie script before, but I was realizing I kind of have a little knack for writing kids TV. I feel like as far as like the quirks and different things that go into making kids comedy, I had an idea about it just maybe from watching Nickelodeon and PBS as a kid. And so I thought it was a pretty good script. And I told my dad about it. My dad, he's from Ghana, West Africa. And he was like, Kwabi, this is really good. And he rarely says that I'm doing something good. So I was like, okay, this probably is pretty good. And I got together with my director friend. His name's Kevin Wilford. I read him the script and he was like, Kwabi, this is pretty good. And so we started getting a crew together. Some of the guys from Finley Nimbles, Nathan Blanchard and his brother Thomas got together with them. and we started creating this pilot episode of the Peace Bus TV show. Now, this TV show is not your normal show. This show is about teaching kids to understand the concepts of homelessness, poverty, incarceration, hunger, and how they can help with the environment. How often do you see shows like that?
Almost
you don't
never.
see shows like that often. Exactly. So I was like, okay, we need to have this be a part of the show. This is the core of the show. But not only that, but the core of the show is Tacoma. We want to have Tacoma be the set of this TV show. And how wonderful would that be for a show, for the area of Tacoma to be the set? And so that's what we set out doing. The show showcases areas of Tacoma, and we're really proud of it. And the group that was working on it, the actors, awesome group. And we're not stopping here. Though we had to postpone the premiere, it will happen in the summer. We're thinking right now, possibly doing a drive-in showing. And
please do it.
Man.
If there's any way to make it happen, please do it.
Here,
I really
clip of it. I want people to see because it's good
for
stuff.
sure.
Is there anything that you want to say or that you got to say to set it up? I mean, I've watched it. I think I'm on board.
Yeah.
But
so this scene has to do with Simon, and me, and our friend that we're trying to do an interview for, Mr. Brown. He makes these wonderful, amazing pies, and then a pie fight ensues. So that's what this is.
Oh, good.
right?
This one bite. They wouldn't even notice me.
Oh, so that's how it is. That was funny. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay, guys. It's okay. We're done now. We're cool. Okay. You guys cool it. Cool it. We're good. So. All right, guys. I'm ready now. All right, where you guys at? It's on.
Oh, that's cool.
So cool.
There's so many things in life that are never going to be as funny as a good old-fashioned pie fight. Like it's pure comedy.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, man.
So awesome. I love that it's almost like they both just have an unlimited number of pies. And
We
like,
did.
loaded.
We had a bunch. Oh my goodness, there was so many pies in the room. It's not like a lot of them we reused, but we had a ton of pies.
Is that just pure whipped cream in a pie pan?
Some of them are. Some of them. So when I first got the pie on my face and I'm licking it and I'm eating it, that was actual whipped cream. But
Okay.
other stuff is shaving cream. Yeah.
Oh yeah, genius.
Yeah.
Got that nice froth to it. I like that.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, we're so glad you're here today, and I want to personally applaud and just put up there how awesome it is what you're doing and everything Peace Bus is doing. It's so cool.
Do you have a place where people can contribute financially to your greater endeavors if they're interested?
Yes, for sure. So we have for Venmo, especially if you go on Venmo and type in the Peace Bus, that's a good way to donate just for the organization as a whole. If you want to donate towards the Peace Bus Breakfast Fund, you can type in GoFundMe/Peace Bus Breakfast Fund, and that will come up. Or add me on Facebook. My name is Kwabi, Kwabi. Last name is AMOAH-FORSON. I'm always updating things about the Peace Bus and as far as how to donate. Also, Instagram. Instagram's a real good way to reach me or to figure out how to donate. And our Instagram is just the Peace Bus.
Because we always ask, if people enjoy their tours, they can always contribute financially, and 100% of the proceeds from tonight's tour are going to the Breakfast Fund for the Peace Bus. So whatever.
I appreciate that, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We appreciate you feeding the children of Tacoma. Like,
Yeah.
that's
It's been my honor, man. It's been my honor to see, man, just to see kids, to be excited about the cereal and just to know that because cereal was delivered, they're going to have breakfast, the most important meal of the day. It's awesome, man.
Love it.
So cool. So cool. Well, as we keep going with tonight's tour, if anybody has any questions for Kwabi or about the Peace Bus, hit them up. I think you're going to hang out with us tonight. Kwabi, you're going to stick around?
For sure.
Cool.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
So if you got any questions, shoot them out at us. Yeah, we'll talk about some more cool stuff at Tacoma. I'm realizing right now it almost would have been better to talk about Peace Bus and everything last, because the cool stuff I'm going to bring up is not. It's like
Wow.
you have this awesome humanitarian who's like teaching about peace, and I'm going to be like, I want to talk about a comic book store in Tacoma that I really like.
Comic books are cool too.
This is a tour about our passions and the things that we've discovered in Tacoma that speak to that, and this diverse city of entrepreneurial spirits, I think.
Yeah.
I like it, Chris. Right. I like it.
Thanks for bringing it around. So I'll begin with something I personally am excited to share tonight. And that is my first cool thing from Tacoma, other than, honestly, Peace Bus, which I was like, I'm excited to be a cool thing. But the next cool stuff thing in Tacoma that I want to talk about is Atomic Comics.
Whoop, whoop.
They are a comic book store here in Tacoma, located near the mall in Tacoma, which I'm realizing right now, because I just took a screen grab of my Google Drive, is 6 minutes away from my home. So if somebody out there is trying to figure
so
out where
much
I live,
about you.
yeah, but they are very close to my house and close to my heart. Atomic Comics is a super cool comic shop here in Tacoma, and I was going to talk about them, but instead I figured I would let them talk about themselves. So I got a short video intro from the awesome people at Atomic Comics. It's going to take me a slight second here to pull it up, because
not even that long, honestly. We're more than happy to cover for you in this interim, because that's specifically what we do. Also, if anyone has any other questions for Kwabi and they put them in the comments, we can respond via comment to you guys. So like individual links, anything like that, we're on top of it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Cool.
You ready for this?
Oh, I'm ready.
Let's make it happen.
Let's do it.
Oh, awesome. Here we go. Shoot. Okay. This is embarrassing. This happens to lots of.
You were ready, so
this happens to lots of people. It's not just me. Here we go.
I'm Shane Tzemre, owner of Atomic Comics and Toys here in Tacoma, Washington. This summer will be our 16th anniversary. I first got into comics completely by accident. I was looking for a Christmas gift to get my little brother, and I decided for some odd reason that he might enjoy some comic books. So I went and bought some for them, and then that evening when I got home, I read them all myself, and I enjoyed every one of them so much. I went back 2 weeks later and bought the exact same ones for myself, and I have been hooked ever since. Obviously, there's tons of history in superhero comics. Both Marvel and DC have been the kings of that for a very long time. But the biggest growing segment of comics in the market today is non-superhero stuff. Fantasy, science fiction, crime, horror, different genres that cover every taste. And we highlight that here at the shop, and we always have. And the clientele is really diverse. There's loads of families that come in. There's folks that are lawyers or doctors or volunteers or teenagers, kids that ride their bikes to the shop. It is a true slice of life. I set out from the beginning to provide an environment where people are welcome, whether you are a new reader or somebody who's been in it for a long time or have no idea what you're looking for. This is a very welcoming place. The staff has been chosen specifically to reflect that welcoming place and provide starting points for people of all walks of life. We love hosting events. We have a couple of free comic events every year. A giant one is Free Comic Book Day, which is the first Saturday of May every year. It is exactly as it sounds. You come by and you can get free comic books. We turn it into a giant party. We have lots of cosplayers, stormtroopers, just loads of fun. And the parking lot is stuffed with people. It is so fun. The shutdown has had a dramatic effect on the shop. Obviously, people aren't allowed to come into the shop, and comics as a whole have stopped publication during the coronavirus shutdown. So we have relied heavily on the 80 plus years of history that comics have established. Just because comics aren't being made now doesn't mean that there's not stories to be read or enjoyed. There's a few ways that we're still in operation while the shutdown is in place. One, we are taking email requests. We're also taking Facebook message requests and want lists. We're also hosting weekly live Facebook claim sale events where we bring out a bunch of great old stories, talk about them a little bit, and if you're interested, you can claim it right there. The most important reason the shop exists at all is I want to share with other people what comics have done for me, what the stories have done for me, how much I've enjoyed it. I want to provide a place where other people can get out of it what I have. And sharing that is the big drive for me for the last 16 years and for the next 25 years.
Wow.
That's cool. That's cool.
See, and that's what I'm talking about. The passion and the conviction of this city is truly the draw of the place. And I appreciate you, Paul, for organizing a tour that highlights that, and Kwabi for being the patron saint of it, quite honestly. So,
I'm gonna have to pick up some comics. Man.
Please do. And Atomic, as well as well, I'll say Atomic Comics have a great staff of people who can give you recommendations for whatever you may be looking for. They've helped me many a time when I've come in and just been like, I don't know, this is kind of mood I'm in. And like, I got it. Here's what
I think people underestimate other people's expertise sometimes. And I'm specifically talking about myself, where Paul has always introduced me to different comics or graphic novels, and they've always been good. So I kind of was just like, well, maybe the whole thing is good. And the first time I went into a comic book shop and just bought something because I was like, oh man, that art is awesome. I read it and it was garbage. And it occurred to me that Paul for years had been filtering garbage out of my feed and only allowing me to read good stuff. So I really have a new appreciation for his skill.
I don't know about that.
No, it's 100% accurate. Everything that I just said.
All right. Cool.
Well, I've always wanted to get Watchmen. I've always wanted to buy the graphic novel Watchmen, and so when I go to a comic store, I see it and I'm like, okay, next time. But I need to commit and get that graphic novel.
Mm-hmm. It's a great one. It's one of those classics. Like that is one of those tent poles. Any serious comics collectors got. Well, probably a serious comics collector's got. Like I have the original issue from 1980, whatever, signed by Alan Moore in a glass case. I'm not that extreme, but I do have a graphic novel Watchmen on my bookshelf.
Good man. Good man.
Yeah.
Kwabi, did you have any recommendations, stuff that you love in Tacoma that you wanted to bring up? We can screen share it right now.
Yeah, I did want to let you guys know about One BD Local. It's a podcast organization that's here locally in Tacoma. They're actually on Tacoma Avenue, and they showcase people who create podcasts here in Tacoma, and they have their own studio. And what's so special about BD Local is, say you want to create a podcast and you don't have the know-how, like the equipment, the editing expertise. These guys, you can talk with them and they can give you a podcast show, which is really cool. Very, very affordable as well. Tim and Sadie, the people who run it, husband and wife, awesome people. They also showcase events that happen in the Tacoma area. Just a couple of days ago, there was a day of prayer for COVID. And so they had in this event, they had different people from different walks of life and different religions come together for a day of peace, a night of peace, and they had different cars show up. And BD Local did a showcasing of that event. And they're just awesome people, and they do awesome work showcasing things that are happening locally. They're awesome people.
That's awesome. That's a solid recommendation.
Yeah.
All right. Paul, did you have one?
I do have another one, but I wanted to give you a chance without putting you on the spot.
Well, if I'm gonna jump into this party, I do actually. I quite literally could talk endlessly about stuff I love about Tacoma, because that is actually my job. But I did want to highlight the fact 7048 is a Tacoma. It's not exclusively a Tacoma thing, but it's something that starts in Tacoma. And it's something that I absolutely adore. It is a race from Tacoma to Port Townsend. So it's 70 miles.
Whoa.
And you have 48 hours to complete it. And you can only use a human-powered watercraft. So basically, there's no limitation, really. It has to be seaworthy, and it has to be driven by you. And this was supposed to be the year that I finally jumped in on 7048. Unfortunately, as with like everything else in the world, COVID-19 has postponed it by a year. But I definitely think it's something worth looking into. And it's just this collection of people who, for whatever reason, are like, I would love to suffer for 48 hours. And some people complete it. I forget what the record is, but pretty close, like either 9 or 11 hours. They've made it.
Whoa.
From Tacoma to Port Townsend.
Is that from the time they start to the time they end, or is that like that's how many hours they were working with breaks in between?
I mean, from when they start to when they end, and that includes the breaks because it's time.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
And so some people choose because it starts in the evening at like 5 or 6 p.m. Everyone leaves from the Faust Waterway. I think there's a sweet shot of it here of all these craft. Yeah, right there. So all these vessels depart from the Faust Waterway, taken off, and then some people choose to camp along the way. Some people just can't make it. For some people, it takes the full 48 hours, whatever, but you arrive to this like hero's uproar in Port Townsend. And it's just a collection. There's something about people getting together in a group and sharing an experience of suffering that, I don't know, forges you into something stronger and more compassionate. So I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited to see it actually happen. And I'm proud that Tacoma is a location that has hosted it for this long.
It's really interesting. I find it often that when we are faced, even especially it comes out in sports, when we're faced with some sort of struggle or something that's against us and we fight against it, we come together as people, whether that, you want to talk about like football, when there's a really strong opposing team, everyone comes together. So I feel like this event is just a good example of that. It's awesome. It's really cool.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. There is something that unifies people unlike anything else other than just coming together against a common adversary. And if that adversary is self-imposed suffering, all the better.
It reminds me of, and this actually isn't my next cool thing from Tacoma, but one of the highlights of my year for the last 9 years, one of my favorite things Tacoma does is the Grand 253 Film Festival, which Kwabi, I know you've done before. And
yeah,
it's, for anybody that's not familiar, it's a 72-hour film festival. So Thursday night at 7 p.m., you get requirements and they say go. And then Sunday night at 7 p.m., you have to turn in a movie. And making a movie's hard. And making a movie when you only have 72 hours to do it, so you can't go reshoot that scene where the audio was bad, and you can't like take some time and cast it. You just make it. It's certainly not as physically grueling as rowing that far in 48 hours, but it is similarly like everybody does it and you push through it. And one of my favorite things every year is when we do the screening and everybody gets together and we're just like, we're going to see all these people in Tacoma who made a movie in the same weekend. Be like, how did you interpret that one thing? How did you overcome that challenge? And it kind of broke my heart that we weren't able to do that this year, but I am so looking forward to the next time we're going to get to do that again.
Yeah, Paul, that event was one of the most mentally challenging things I've ever done. My team at the end of that it's that last hour, it's so, oh my gosh, so tired, so grueling. Your guys' group always is amazing, man. Finley Nimbles always does an amazing job.
Thanks. I mean, your movie was great too. I always say the thing I love most about the 72-hour film festival is there's no time to say no to your own creativity, if that makes any sense. Like, if you're like, I have this idea, it's going to be this thing, this is what we're going to do. You don't have time to stop and be like, but is that idea dumb? Like, will it not work? Is it worth it? There's no time. It's just like, that's the idea. Everybody's on board. Work as hard as you can, make it as good as you can, which is something that's not often a thing. I think we all get a chance to do so.
Yeah.
What is your next one?
All right, my next one, a little bit of a change of pace. Originally, I was bringing up the Atomic Comics here in Tacoma, an awesome comic book shop. For anybody out there who's looking for something other than like a comic store, my next thing I would love to share with everybody, a little bit different, is...
It's going to be a good one. You can tell. You can see that.
Stargazer Comics.
There it is.
Yeah.
I like telegraphed that joke so hard because it took me too long to bring it up. But Stargazer Comics, toys, and games are a little bit different. And honestly, I would have felt guilty showcasing Atomic and not Stargazer here in Tacoma. Once again,
11 minutes from your home.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to try to extrapolate, therefore, where I would live, what's 11 minutes from Stargazer and 6 minutes from Atomic? I guess any pretty gritty superfan stalkers out there could probably find it.
I imagine you have a few.
I hope not. But once again, I reached out to Stargazer and I wanted to give them kind of a chance to talk about what they're doing and stuff. So I've got a quick thing that I can share with y'all guys about them once I figure it out.
I'm excited for this one. I appreciate that you got video clips from each of them to sort of showcase in their own voice what they're talking about. That's a classy moment.
All right.
Whoa.
Here we go. Not the most flattering freeze for this guy to be on, but he's a good guy. Oh no!
No, it's there. Give it a
It's
second.
working. Yeah.
What's up, guys? Damien here with Stargazer Comics. I just want to give you a quick update before we start the tour of the shop to let you know that new comics are coming on May 20th. So that'll be the first New Comics Wednesday in close to 2 months. We're really excited about that. We will be offering curbside service and pulling new books for all of our subscribers. We are offering curbside service right now by appointment, but starting next week with new comics coming out, we will be expanding the hours that we're going to be available here. So we got that to look forward to. And without further ado, here's a tour of Stargazer.
He did say without further ado, but there will be slightly more ado while I bring up the other video.
There's some ado. I do want to just take that moment, though, to say that if there's a business that you love or are interested in that's doing curbside pickup, do it. Like anyone who's making the commitment to keep operating and adapting to this situation, I'm like, take my money. I support you so hard right now.
Yeah, and I had a hesitation as we were getting ready for this tour because I was like, should I show off businesses or should I like for cool stuff in Tacoma? Should I talk about like my favorite spot to watch the sunset in Titlow Beach, like park, or like, you know, now I can't think of, but my favorite like natural spots or things about Tacoma that you don't have to spend money on. But then I was like, but also there's people here in Tacoma that are connected to an industry of comics that I love, who are selling comic books, whose dream it was to open a comic store in Tacoma. And if anybody out there has some extra money and they're looking for something to do, if I can convince them to spend some money here in Tacoma, I think that's cool. So
Yeah.
But if we're all ready, with no more further ado, here is an awesome tour of Stargazer from the staff at Stargazer.
All right, guys, upon entering Stargazer Comics, first thing you're going to see is our key wall. This is where we feature first appearances, other major events in the history of comics. So we always have lots of cool stuff, graded books, stuff like that right up front. And we've got a bunch of featured graphic novels right here next to the register. So if you're looking for something good to read, you can find it right up front here. We got a gremlin watching over our clearance rack. Lots of clearance bundles and graphic novels here. Then we get into our glass display cases, which feature stuff like vintage toys like He-Man, Thundercats, Ninja Turtles, G.I. Joe. And then over on this side, we've got a bunch of statues and some other vintage figures. This is going to have everything in it from Marvel and DC to stuff like Godzilla, anime and manga characters, horror movie memorabilia, all that kind of good stuff. Once we get past that, we get into the bulk of the shop. we will see our new comic racks. Over on this side, we have everything from Marvel and DC, as well as stuff like Power Rangers, Star Trek, and TMNT. In the center is where we keep our image books. That is the most prolific of the independent creator-owned publishers. We got 4 racks back to back, so it looks like 2 racks full of image stuff. Right behind that, you're going to see our kids section, which features some kids' toys, some little golden books, as well as single issue comics that are targeted towards young readers. Next to that is our new independent comics section. This is going to have all of our indies that are not from Image Comics. This has stuff from great publishers like Aftershock, Dark Horse, Oni, Vault, Valiant. All that stuff's going to be over on this side. And right next to that is our vintage video games. We focus on the cartridge-based system, so we're going to have NES, Super NES, Sega Genesis, and N64. We also carry the console, so if you're interested in vintage gaming, check us out. Up above that, we've got Marvel Legends, some more anime figures, some DC figures, lots of memorabilia up top here. We do carry some cool stuff like helmets, Infinity Gauntlets. Over on this side, I think I got a Power Rangers helmet. I've got a Mjolnir. So if you're looking for big collectibles like that, we've got that kind of stuff. And then right next to that is our Transformers. We love Transformers. Transformers collectors are very serious about this stuff. So if you are a collector, come check us out. We're happy to do pre-orders on Transformers. Lots of good stuff. And then as you can see right below that, tons of pop figures. We've got pop figures all throughout the shop. Right past Hal Jordan here is our graphic novel section. As you can see, we have a ton of graphic novels. Really wanted to focus on building this whenever we started the shop up, because this is a great way to introduce people to reading comic books. Basically, what you do is you collect all the single issues into a volume like this, where you got, you know, the first 5 issues of Detective Comics, the latest run there. And if you want to read it, you just go volume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can get all the way caught up. So this is a great way to introduce people to comics, whether they're interested in Marvel, DC, independent stuff. You got a favorite character, you got a certain genre you're interested in, you're going to find something cool to read on this strip right here. Right behind me is our backstock, which is organized by publisher. Over on this side, we got Marvel and DC. And then here on the back half of the this segment right here, we've got all of our independent backstock. Up above that, we carry some bundled runs. So say, for example, if you like Jeff Lemire, right here, got 1 through 5 of Royal City ready to go. You got a little ready-made collection there. If you cruise past that, you're going to see some of our clearance Blu-rays and DVDs, all of our hardcover, compendiums, omnibuses, and then we get to our manga section. This is where you're going to find all of the best comics from Japan. So you'll find stuff like Dragon Ball Z, One Punch Man, My Hero Academia, Bleach, Attack on Titan, Naruto, One Piece, Tokyo Ghoul. Lots of good stuff here. This section is always growing. As I learn more, I expand it. More toys in the back, clearance section in the back, more toys, some t-shirts, dollar books, posters, you name it. If it's geek culture stuff, we've got it here. If you're interested, check us out. We've got StargazerComics.com, our online shop, and we will be opening back up next week for curbside service. Starting May 20th, new comics are coming out. So we hope to see you then. Take care. Bye.
Nice.
Wow.
Sensing a theme with you also, Paul.
Yeah, all about comic books, but slightly different feels for comic books because Stargazer Comics, Toys, and Games has a lot more merch and games and stuff like that. The last thing I'll say, as someone who's always loved comics, has loved really nerd culture, I think it can be intimidating to want to get into it for people who maybe aren't into comics, who are just like, I don't know. And there are certainly fans out there who thrive on kind of the elitism of like, oh, you don't even know who this obscure like writer or character is. And so it can be hard. But both Stargazer and Atomic are not like that at all. They are awesome. The Stargazer website is awesome, but they're both staff that are just like, these are stories that have meant something to us, that have been very cool, and we were excited about sharing that with you. And their expertise is great for sharing and helping you find titles that you will love wherever you are, on a spectrum of how much you love comics, what age you are, what you're looking for, any of that stuff. So I cannot recommend either of those shops highly enough.
Kwabi, you got one for us?
Oh, and another cool part of Tacoma?
I don't want to
or
put you on
what?
the spot, but I don't want to rule you out either. If you've got something good.
No, I'm on for the ride. We're doing a virtual tour. I'm just in the bus, man.
Okay. I will say one of my favorite places in Tacoma for so many reasons is the Faust Waterway Seaport. If you've seen the tour in the past, you know it's a historic building. It used to be the largest grain storage facility in the United States, or the longest specifically. And today it is this sweet building right down on the Faust Waterway that does historical education, school programs. They have touch tanks, and they have this huge collection of historic craft in there. So a lot of like wooden boats actually made by the Faust family. And they're all in display in there. They play cool sounds. And if it's hard to see in this picture on the website here, but the building is the last remaining section of that 100-year-old wheat storage facility, the Balfour Dock building. So it's just a cool place to be in, and they're always doing cool stuff. And they have remained like relevant and fun. They do a lot of like live virtual events during COVID. And I have, if I can find it here, one of my favorite moments of them right here. So this is Julia Berg. She is part of the elite team there.
Elite.
Right at the beginning here, she was like, I'm gonna put on my shark outfit and just film myself in the building. And I adore her so hard. So obviously you can't go into the Maritime Seaport right now, but they're doing a ton of stuff online. Also, she's not qualified to be operating that right now.
Well, she's a shark. I don't know if sharks are allowed to ride scissor lifts.
But as soon as all of this is done, if you get an opportunity to go just visit the building, people forget that it's there a lot of the time. And it's such a rich resource for just like walking into a building and smelling what like these wooden boats smell like instantly transports you.
Yeah, I went down there for the first time last summer. I believe there was an event, and it was miraculous. It's interesting you say that, the old ship smell, because that's definitely what you get overwhelmed with, and it's this essence of sort of this I don't know, just to be around the water and to experience that. It was awesome, man. It's a great place.
Swarthy seafaring sort of experience. I love it so much. They do amazing stuff down there. And yeah, once it opens back up, I can't wait to get people back in there. And in the meantime, any of their stuff that they're putting up online, they just had a live broadcast with the guy whose team they rowed their way, like ROW, across the Atlantic Ocean.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many people were on the team?
I think there were 4 of them. They did it a couple times, but yeah, we've got some I'll put the pictures up. They were just in a single person man-powered craft, and they just rowed their way across the Atlantic.
That's insane.
How long does that take?
It took them a few months. Like took them like 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah. So sweet stuff. And Tacoma. He's a Tacoma native.
All right. Tacoma natives making and doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
Hardcore. Okay.
So cool.
Paul, did you have one more?
Nope.
Cool. Then I'm going to do my last one really quick, just because I think this is another hidden gem in Tacoma. And I wish more people knew about it, but let's see where it is. Devil's Reef Tiki Bar. Here's a fun shot from the video that I'm not going to show you, but that's up online. Devil's Reef is a tiki bar in Tacoma, and it is like perhaps the most legit tiki bar in the world, in my opinion. The guy
Wow.
who founded it, Jason Alexander, was a coffee barista who wanted more out of life. So he taught himself how to make tiki drinks. And then he established Devil's Reef here inside what used to be the old office for the Tacoma Ledger, the newspaper of Tacoma in the early days. And so
then it was B Sharp Coffee for a little while, right?
yeah, it used to be B Sharp,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
And today they make these tiki drinks that you're looking at here, and they have a menu, and they have the craziest, sweetest names, like Cabin House Full of Scorpions, or Sumatran. Or what's your favorite, Paul?
Oh man, I always remember, and I asked him about it because he took it off the menu, but I think it was like a island floating on a placid sea of infinite sadness. Something similar to that. And
Wow.
I asked the bartender about it. He said it was a quote from a H.P. Lovecraft short story about Earth. And it's like Earth is an island sitting in a placid, dark sea of endless apathy or something. I don't remember the exact quote, but I was just like, I don't remember the drink because we'd had a couple beforehand already. But I remember the name. I
want
was
to
like,
talk about
"That's the best."
passionate creators. Like, they don't have an email address, they don't have a phone number, they don't have a website. They just make tiki drinks, and like, you either know where it is and you walk in and you enjoy the hell out of your life, or you don't. Those are your options.
We got a good question. Do they make mocktails? They do have some non-alcoholic beverages on the menu. And if you're not looking to drink a crazy strong rum drink, they also have really good food. They're like black lava tots are so good. Their guacamole is amazing.
The sentence I never thought I would utter until Devil's Reef changed the fabric of my soul is that they have the best vegetarian poke in the universe.
Wow. Not worth it.
In the universe.
In the universe.
Wow.
I've been to like 64 countries. I've done over 150 tiki bars in my travels. And I, hands down, every time would choose Devil's Reef.
Wow.
Dang. That's where I'm going next, Chris.
There
Where
it is.
everything opens up. Yeah.
Yeah. And you won't know. You'll just be able to smell something change in like the pressure in the air, and you'll be like, they've opened.
Mhm.
So, your eyes open.
Yeah. Awesome.
And I think with that,
Yeah, I was going to say, Kwabi, we want to thank you again for hanging out with us. We want to, of course, as always, thank everybody for watching. This was kind of a fun experiment. I was like, would anybody care if we just talk about things that we love in Tacoma without a specific theme? And I think people are enjoying it. Hopefully we'll do something like this again. And hopefully, Kwabi, I really hope we get to partner with you and do something again with you again, because this has been really cool.
a huge pleasure, man.
Paul, Chris, this has been amazing, you guys. I don't know. It's been fun is the main thing that I would characterize this as. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure.
Very cool. Well, thanks again. Anybody, like Chris said, if you feel like we did a great job tonight, you can always tip us, and 100% of those tips tonight are going to the Peace Bus to help the things they're doing. You can also help them out. If you're looking for some comics, Atomic Comics and Stargazer are great. Atomic Comics are doing a really cool thing where they do a live sale, like you saw in the video, where they're live selling on Facebook, which I think is awesome. And then Stargazer is doing 20% discounted on all backstock goods right now. I'm talking so fast that Chris is able to put up the thing I used to be talking about just by the time I start talking about something else.
Well done, me.
Yeah. But anyway, this has been truly awesome. This is really cool.
Thank you so much, Kwabi. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. We are excited to see you all soon. Our next virtual tour is this Saturday. It's going to be underground Tacoma, and pretty stoked on it. So
Saturday, 8 o'clock?
Saturday, 8 p.m.
But
and
not
then,
Saturday a couple days from now. Or is it Saturday a couple days from now?
so what is today? Thursday? So a couple
Thursday
days.
the 14th.
And then this Monday, the 17th, at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, we are going to be doing our virtual tour of the Proctor neighborhood with historic Tacoma. So I'm pretty stoked on that as well.
Wow. Wow.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Keep on exploring. Till next time, I'm Chris Stottinger.
I'm Paul Richter.
And I'm Kwabi. Take it easy, guys.
Yeah, bye.